Hello, welcome to today's HR Huddle. I'm Tamera Loerzel, and with me is Jenifer Wilson. And we are here to talk to HR professionals and talent leaders and firm leaders about topics affecting your firm and your talent. And one of them that has been arising quite a bit in conversations lately with firm leaders that we are consulting with and at conferences this summer and fall is the topic of partner unity. And we have been talking about partner unity for decades, I think I can say, Jen. And we firmly believe that if we can get everybody in the boat and rowing in the same direction, you are going to have more success. And that's no matter what your entity structure is, whether it's PE, whether you've recently merged or acquired a firm, or you're, moving forward with your, core nucleus, partner team and leadership team. But everybody's got to be in the boat, first of all, and rowing in the same direction. And we can't have, some leaders trying to row a different, direction, or, pulling against the current and stopping, or standing up in the boat, causing disruption, or whatever it might look like. And so we just thought it was important to stop and say, how do we help leaders, really get aligned and moving in that common direction, and talking about it and speaking about it, and, their actions and goals and focus, areas, clients, all of it is aligned with that direction. And Jen, I think you talk about, you have more glide when we do that. I don't know if you want to say more about that.
Well, I love that, Tamara. Thank you for bringing it up. I mean, the idea is when we have disunity, when we're not on the same page, then we give mixed messages. So, our organization has decided that this is the direction we're going to take related to, automating clients using the following systems in the following ways. And that all goes out. And then I tell my team, we're not going to move our clients. We're going to wait and see, Well, when I do that, that's a disunified position. And it ends up starting to, stymie or impact momentum. And so your organization, disunity is inefficient. It's expensive. Any disunity starts to cost the firm money. Now, it doesn't mean that we all 100% agree and we're, blindly saying yes to everything, whatever the firm says. As leaders, we have opportunities to give input. We have opportunities to give feedback. We should certainly use those opportunities. But once a decision is made, we have to support it as if it were the one that we voted for or wanted as leaders, or we end up, really messing up the heads of clients and talent and external third parties. We make people think, gosh, I don't know who to listen to. I don't know what to believe anymore, or what should I be doing? And that just kind of creates this faltering in the growth and the momentum and the change initiatives that we have. So that's the lack of glide is a mistake. And the second thing that I would like to say about this is that ideally we start at the highest tippy top point of the mountain that we can get to, which is unity around a shared vision for where we're taking this place or this thing, this entity. Where are we headed? What does 2030 look like for us? Where are we going together? And it's shared vision, shared purpose. I asked a group of really smart leaders I was with last week. We were talking about differentiation and unique, special, and different, and Gen Z and Alpha behind them that want purpose and mission and clarity. And so I was saying, why are you in business? What are you doing for a living? What do we do here? And there's often, I got crickets, by the way. People looked at me like I had asked the hardest question. At Convergence, when they ask why we work in the accounting profession, we say, well, the U.S. accounting profession, they're the guardians of the global economy. That's why we work in accounting. Our world's very economy hinges upon the success of this profession and the people in it and the people they advise. And so, like, what is that shared vision? What is that shared purpose? That's something that organizations have to get unified around. And it's up to the senior leaders to make sure that the drawing up of the vision and the purpose is done. And then shared values and shared behaviors, expected behaviors, another critical piece. And maybe you want to pick that up, Tamera, because that's a big place where we can get on, off track.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. And I think it's a common place that we don't want to start. Like, we don't think about it. We want to talk about, how much we're going to grow in revenue and what services and our clients, and all of that's super important. We need that, but that's like one layer down. And we have to agree on, what we can count on from each other and how we are going to operate together and behave together. And so, some kind of a partner commitment statement or a, partner code of conduct. It's more than values. Your values can shape those. So if you have values, you can, assess and say, are these still the values we're committed to? But then, out of that, what can we count on from each other? Like open and transparent communication and going to the source with whom we have a complaint. So to your point about we agree in the big room, I leave that room. I'm not going to Jen's office and saying, that's crazy. It will never work. And they can do what they want, but I'm going to, have my audit team do this. And so none of that, no triangulation. And I go to the source and I speak up in those meetings. So like that would be an example, of those behaviors and values and what we can count on for each other. And so I think that's important. And then your team knows what you can count on from your leaders. And we can start teaching our team, this is how we operate as a firm and in our interactions with each other, and that we're countable to each other. And there could be performance things in there, and there can be ways we communicate, there's a list, right? But then we can start to say that's how we operate. And then our clients know what to expect. So we have consistent performance and accountability with our clients as well. We're not all making it up or picking and choosing, which is what we often see, which ones we'll subscribe to and which ones not. And so I think that's an important place to start.
I agree, Tamera. And, one of the interesting things about partner unity is there are a number of things we can do to foster it, cause it. But there are also some things that we need to put in place that make it feel like it's not optional, feel mandated or required. And of course we want to inspire and motivate it. We don't want to like force it, but there do need to be some consequences if we're not unified. And I do think presently in most firms, there are limited to no consequences related to a lack of behavior outside of expected behavior. And some firms have some things in place, but many do not. And so an example that I would give is in a lot of operating agreements or partnership agreements or ownership agreements, whatever language you want to use, in a lot of those, we have like clause in there that says how we could terminate a partner, the things that would cause partner termination. And there are things like committing a felony and going bankrupt and losing your license. And those are fireable, and they are, huge. But there's not like not adhering to the partner code of conduct. That's not usually in there. And it should be, because the partner code of conduct calls us to things like respectful behavior and trusted communications and doing what's best for the organization, even if it's not necessarily what's best for me personally, because it's what we decided. And usually a partner code of conduct or a values set of statements or the behavioral expectations document, whatever it is, there need to be sort of some teeth to following it. And it isn't just, I went to the extreme, I realize, which is termination, which of course happens way after performance management, but I don't know how to performance manage somebody or appraise them if we don't have clarity of what unified partner behavior looks like, expected partner behavior, if we don't have it in writing, then it doesn't exist. It's all made up. It's a figment of somebody's imagination. And then if I come to Tamera and say, hey, Tamera, I was expecting this behavior from you, but I haven't seen it, she could say, well, where'd you get that idea? Or, I was doing it. And where do you define what doing it is? Because this is how I define it. It just creates too much, too many interpretive and moments. So a huge rule of partner unity, not just on the behavioral side, is if it's not in writing, no one can unify around it.
Right.
And if it's not in writing in an accessible place and repeatedly
discussed,
lovingly discussed and reminded and practically singing a song about it, our top 3 priorities for this year are, to where everybody could start chanting them with you like you were in a concert. That's how you get there. And you don't get there if we're not communicating them. And it starts with writing. And that's just how it goes. People do not buy into something that's not in writing. They can't remember it. They didn't listen to it. They weren't there when it was said. And then as much specificity as we could provide, but still allow it to be communicated, because too much specificity makes it a binder full of information that I have to read and forget it. Right. Then we aren't going to remember to behave and to act in unified ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think part of that documentation is a documentation of, our vision and where we're headed. And that's our purpose. What are we trying to achieve together, and how are we going to achieve it? What services are we providing to what constituents of clients, and, how our, team is made up to be able to deliver those services. But otherwise we make that up also. And I go and, build a practice that I am passionate about. And maybe I, choose cannabis or something. It's hot, it's growing, it's, past here in Minnesota. So I'm like, I'm going to go after that. But we're like, wait a minute, we're not aligned with that. And there's federal repercussions and we don't want to invest in it. We all, create our own silos and operate, separately. And we're taking resources from the firm. So back to your point, Jen, about, where are we spending our money? Where are we deploying our time and our resources? We have to agree on where that is. Otherwise we have this tension and this push pull and this, not strategic use of it. And, maybe who is the most dominant gets it, maybe the one who's selling the most. And that's what we're accidentally building, where we're not necessarily wanting to be intentional about it. We're not collaborating across departments. So we don't have cohesion. We have duplication, probably churn happening. So agreeing on that and documenting it too, I think is important. I think some people get constrained, Jen, by putting it in writing, because I feel like, no, this is the plan and this is all it's going to be. And, we can't change and deviate off our plan. Our plan is to say, hey, here's where we're going, and we're checking in on that regularly. Like we talked about, we're discussing it, and plans do change. The market changes, as we've been noticing. The economy impacts it. There's tax, legislation that's regulating, or that's, coming out, that we need to figure out how that's being impacted. So we might need to make some changes, changes to our staffing models, changes to, how we are, bringing people in or using outsourcing or offshoring. And, it can change. But if we know what it is, and we can also agree on how is it going to change, what are the impacts of that change, so we can be strategic and communicate and be thoughtful about any changes that we're making. So I think sometimes, we get a little constrained when we put it in writing, and instead we'd say, hey, it's your tool. It's your, this is your plan that you guys are marching against, and we should be talking about regularly.
Yeah. And I think sometimes I don't want a plan in place. Like, first, I don't want to bother to do the thinking and the collaborating and then the documenting and the getting the approvals and the buy-in and hearing the feedback on my plans. So like the hassle of planning could stop us. But there's another sort of, and you said they don't want to be constrained. I agree with that. Another objection, though, is like, what I really don't want is to commit my plan to writing, because then you're going to actually expect me to perform against that plan. Like I have to deliver the goods.
And be accountable to it. which is another phrase we hear. Right.
And unity does require accountability, and they are tied. They are cousins or siblings or something, those two, and so for sure we want to be unified around plans. Plans for the service lines, plans for the segments, plans for our operational areas. They all need a plan. And with top 3 priorities, and it all rolls up to the strategic plan for the organization for the next 12 months, which has some big rocks, 3, probably maybe 4, and then that rolls up into the vision, right? So it's or you could cascade it down in whichever direction you want to picture it, but we've got these plans in place, and that helps with partner unity for sure. The other thing that we need to toss in here is who owns doing what.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could have a plan for our company or our firm, and we could have a plan for our service line. But between Tamera and I, which one of us is supposed to implement which pieces? And so we have to be super clear about who's owning what. And not just my KPIs, like how am I going to be measured, or what kind of growth I'm going to deliver, or who am I shepherding, which people am I career advising for, or how much service will I personally deliver if that's appropriate. It's not just those things. It's also like who's driving which growth plans, and who's driving which change initiatives, and who's responsible for what. And so part of partner unity is clarity of ownership and roles, and those lead to clarity of goals or KPIs. And so now you could be hearing what we've just said, all this stuff for 17 minutes, and you could say, that's a lot of documentation. That's a lot of thinking and planning. And yes, I mean, it doesn't have to all be done at once. And it doesn't have to be done in any specific order. Some people would get hung up on the idea that they've got to either start at the top or start at the bottom. But right now, you could clear up roles and goals under the current structure without any of the other pieces, because you are operating with roles and goals that are murky, and you have overlap and underlap, and you have some people horribly over-functioning. They're awesome over-functioners, high control, playing a million parts. And then you have some people that love an over-functioner called under-functioners, underdoers. And they are enjoying the ride of being under the wing of these overdoers. But you have some places where nobody's assigned, and those things aren't thriving, and places where too many of us are involved, and there's tons of inefficiency and overlap and churn over there. And just clear that up. Just clear, like, in partner roles and responsibilities, which things do I own? And by owning it doesn't mean I go off in my little corner and decide all by myself like it's a fiefdom. I still have to collaborate. I still have to tie it back to our strategies. I get approval from the people that I report to for my plans. But sometimes we have a lack of unity because we're not sure who gets to decide or who is driving anything. So I don't want to get behind it because I don't think it's going to move.
Right.
I can't see who owns it. And or I think I own it, and I don't know why you're trying to tell me what to do in it. And so things like that can mess us up in partner relationships and partner glide.
Yes. Well, and then this is a whole bucket. We probably should do another a whole nother HR huddle on, but then we have to reward for the performance that we're trying to drive. And so once we've got it defined, we're finding many firm leaders are having to look at their partner comp. And so we need to say, is our partner comp incenting unity and the results and the KPIs and the direction we're trying to head? Or are there things in it that are disincenting what we're trying to drive? And we all want to protect, one of our selfish interests is money. So it's normal to say, I'm going to do how I'm going to get paid. So the results I'm going to focus on are the ones I'm going to get paid on. So we have to look and say, where's there a disconnect? And again, that's normal. And you don't have to start there. We wouldn't start there because you got to do all the definition anyway, but realize that that's someplace that we're going to have to look and say, how are we rewarding it? And as talent professionals or talent leaders, you can then take this and drive all the way down for your goals for your managers and for your seniors and your supervisors. And what are they focused on? And, how are we developing? What's their career path? It informs all of that from a talent perspective. Bonuses, if you have a bonus structure, so they are being incented on the right results, outputs, deliverables, the right measures. And so it trickles on down to the talent. But we're seeing, HR professionals and talent leaders and operations teams really helping to drive some of these constructs that we're talking about that will create more partner unity, more alignment, more glide, more ease in achieving your goals and clarity, about, who's doing what. So, a lot to discuss in 20 minutes. And yes,
one more thing. Yes. Well, I just want to put one more thing on the board. And Tamera, I think that we have to do follow-up HR huddles on, on like the planning process and on comp. Yep. And then this last piece, I just want to lay down the idea of there have to be regular check-ins. I have to report to somebody.
Yes.
I need performance feedback. I need to be, course corrected when I'm off track. And most firms, once you get to partner, you have arrived. Perfection is destined, and there no feedback required. Nobody does check-ins. Very little accountability, and so I think the idea of managing partner and service line leaders and others in responsible positions need to shepherd partners and help them be accountable and help them perform and help them stay unified with the rest of the group through regular check-ins and feedback. And so that's another piece. And then you laid down KPIs, by the way. So there's at least 4 other like offshoots from this discussion. All these things come together to create unity, and you don't have to have them all to get there. Start somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Pick one. And you've got some of these in place. I think that's the other thing. We don't know what each of you has already in place. So you take what you've got in place and then say, what's next based on this discussion? And that's exactly where you would start. And if you have questions, let us know. If you have thoughts about how you're driving partner unity, we would love to hear that too. Mm-hmm. So we look forward to future HR huddles with you. Thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much.